interesting organization and working on, research in trade and other development issues. And also we are, trying to have a good network for outreach and advocacy. So, as I told you, I have worked with different organizations. So I have, you know, exposure to different set of system where research and advocacy matters. So that will, I think, that way I will be able to contribute a bit. Not because there are so many very good, excellent people you have in your team. So I will, along with them, I would also like to contribute my bit to this your brilliant initiative which you have undertaken. And I'm open to any query, any question, any suggestion, or any discussion anytime as if and then when required. Purpose is to make this platform very successful, and which in fact it is very successful. But let us spread this message. Let us go much beyond what we are now. And the drive which you are making, I am very hopeful that things will improve further and further, keep on improving, and we'll be able to do our bit for the collective development of people. So with this very brief background, I will thank you once again for inviting me and making me part of this program. Thank you so much, Dr. Sohar.
Thank you so much. And yes, I think if I'm not mistaken, Sir Suarez was the first person that we opened the career storytelling with on this platform when we started GSLSN. That was the SLSP before we formed into the network. And you told that very story, you narrated it from your heart. And at the end of the day, it inspired us to listen to stories of other leaders and scholars, and it's very amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Very
So
fantastic.
I will, that was early, 70s, I will say. And that was a time when India had completely a license Raj. Things were very, very difficult, very difficult at that point of time. Our development status is, since I was, also from a poor, from a very rural, remote area. So development, as far as development indicators or infrastructure was concerned, there are almost, you can say, nothing except some kacha road, which I recall, in my childhood, when I started, I got my admission to another state in West Bengal, which is, Calcutta is the capital of that state. So I had to, we had to cross almost kind of a river to reach a road, and maybe that was 3-4 miles. So so that was the structure of the infrastructure we were having. So this is one. Another thing was the economic life were very challenging. If I feel myself really very lucky that I came through this and survived, because many of my friends were quite brilliant than me. And for example, I was a very ordinary student in if I talk about my schooling days, very ordinary student. Even I was not even, part of 1 to 10, except that in the test examination of class 10, I occupied 9th rank in my school. And then in board, I came suddenly jumped to, 4th rank in my school. So that is a very quick transition as far as my educational schooling is background of schooling is concerned. But economic lives were equally bad. This even for our schooling, we had to every day in rainy season we had to pass knee deep water for about 100 meters and then go to our school. So that was the infrastructure, level of infrastructure we were having in 70s. Even in 80s or 90s, things didn't change. But in 1981, I went to Calcutta, West Bengal, and took my admission. So it was, economic life and infrastructure as well as social life were very challenging at that point of time. So when I went to Calcutta, things were, system change. In India, every every district or every 10 kilometers, you find a different system working. So we had to, one had to adjust to a new system. And, I was absolutely a, vegetarian person till my class 10, till 1981. And then West Bengal is a kind of place where people are more fond of non-vegetarian food. So gradually, it just happened by default that I had to change my fooding habit. So something which I had never thought of, that in my whole life I'll be a non-vegetarian when till I left my village. But I had to, because things changed when you cross another border or another border of a state within India. Things change because they have a different food habit, different living habit, different type of approaches to have adjust their livelihood issues. So things change, and then gradually, uh, you know, I adjusted. I and since language also is a very big barrier. We at that point of time it was even more. I studied in Hindi medium school, and then suddenly I had to shift to either one needs to know Bengali or English. So that was the two options. So English was slightly better with me. So I opted for English medium because Bengali was, I didn't know even B of Bengali at that point of time when I did there. But gradually, there was also one time when I was almost asked to leave my college. I was doing my plus two because I had requested one of the professor to just also talk in English so that I can also understand. So and the problem was where you have 99% of the students where they only know Bengali, is very difficult even for the professor to speak in English, give their lecture in English or any other language, because 99% would not be able to understand. So that is the challenges I used to, that point of time. Maybe, there could be millions of people who have passed through this, I'm sure, because millions of people came up very well, starting 90s, things really started changing in India. And people of my generation, actually, started gradually benefiting out of this. So I, just managed to continue my education, which was, I did my plus two, then my graduation, then I did my post graduation from Calcutta. And even this period was full of challenges. And one thing which I learned, and now I realize, is if you have a passion for your work or what do you want to achieve, that is the only thing which is going to help you. If you miss because of your challenges you are facing, I will give you one example of this, what I personally faced in my life. My routine in Calcutta, sorry, my routine in Calcutta, I I was a whole livelihood, or the way I live by for my earnings. I was dependent on, I was imparting tuitions to uh, students to just earn for my education in Calcutta. So my routine was, at 7 I had to travel to about 15 kilometers to go reach a place in Calcutta, to give tuition to some. Then at 9 I was free. Then I came back to my residence. Then had a refresh some after refreshment. I used to go to the one library. And if there was no college, then library. Otherwise, I used to visit my university. And in library, I had, within the library, there was a canteen. I took my lunch also. And then in the evening also, it was after 5, my timing was, 5 to 10, up to 10, it was booked for tuitions. And then it's most of the time I used to return my residence at about 11:30 or 12 at night. And in the morning, I had to leave again at 6. So it was, and in between, if suppose I had some work, so I had to do after reaching home. So this was a period, uh, very challenging, very tough one. But at the same time, because of now I understand, because of my passion to act, to learn or to get something, that was maybe I was looking for getting my master degree. So to get something that kept me, all challenges look so small. Now I realize, because my target was I must get my post-graduation degree. So that way, even though I had challenges, even though I suffered a number of occasions, I had to, sometimes go without food, without lunch or without dinner for in a month, maybe for a few days. But what kept me going was I had a passion that I must get my master's post-graduation degree in economics. So that is how, I, even though I was not a brilliant student, but I just through continuous effort, effort and focus on, whatever I could learn or whatever I could, understand my subject, that kept me driving, that you must must continue with it. Now I realize it, but at that point of time, I had no feeling that I'm facing any challenges or any difficulty, because that was absolutely part of my routine. So this happens automatically when you have something bigger to achieve. So that is how I think, even though things are changing in the present day, but one should, even now one can, challenges are there. Now, the big difference between today's and our days is, now what if some kids now, if they find some challenges, they start thinking doing some alternative, they might miss the main purpose of their life or career. So one this big change has occurred. If suppose, I can talk about my kids, if they face challenges, they will just go for some other option or easier option. They won't struggle for the way we did, because of that point. At that point of time, the options were very limited, and we really, had I had no guidance where I'm going. It was just a matter of, how can I just continue my study? I will think what I will do once I get it. So that was the state of mind which I passed through. So
Thank you. Yeah.
that way it continued, and finally, I'm very happy that, though even though I'm not a big person, I'm a very small person, but I'm happy the way things unfolded in my life one by one. But if I compare, I go to my village and people think that I have grown compared to, see, this is always in comparison to other. Like for example, I have, my class, if I talk of my classmates in class 10, most of, except 4 5 people, most of them got settled in some very ordinary things, ordinary work. But there are only few, and I'm happy that I am one of those few who excelled in their life to the extent possible for them, because we are with it, despite so many limitations. So that is how, and this continues even today. So this is, if one has passion, one can always excel in this. One can always move. One can always achieve their target. So this is a bit about my life, and I hope I didn't bother you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You see, you said you're a small person, but a small person that is influencing policy of the whole world. How small can we measure that small? Thank you so much for being
Thank you.
humble and for being yourself and for being true so a lot, but still make impact in the world. And let us start by today's topic. We have our speakers here now. Mr. Nasir Mohammed is here. Mr. Christian is here. Mr. Jamil is here, and also yourself. Well, I would like to start with yourself, sir, because data processing, data analysis, and visualization, and also report writing has been your major, the central core of your skills in policy driving, policy management, and also influencing policy around multilateral, bilateral, and also national scales. What can you say about this very topic in relation to the achievements or driving towards achieving the sustainable development goals? What do you think about this from your experience, sir?
Yeah, this is, research is, at the core of what we all, whether we report writing or whether we go for data visualization, whether we go for data analysis. So these are all part of research which we can do, and research is always for a purpose. So that purpose, when we start doing some research, so first thing one should, first thing is mapping this whole research objective, the background of it, the objective of it, what is expected outcome of it, and what is then, what how do we want to get this implemented by the, our ultimate stakeholder. So this is keeping this in mind. Whenever we start a project, the first thing is, data, how we, as per requirement of the project. Some projects require collection of data. Some projects is all based on secondary literature, based on secondary data available. So there are, two types of research we can say. One is primary research, in which, most of the policy making decisions are based on this primary, and sometimes also, based on secondary data, and sometimes both combined of primary data and secondary data. But, depending on the purpose of your research, so what is your ultimate objective, what do you want to achieve, and what is your expected outcome, and where you want to reach with your research. So these are the, basic thing which, whenever we start doing some research, that these are the basic thing which we need to understand very, very clearly. Now, suppose if I go for primary research, suppose some CSR, corporate social responsibility, some companies is undertaking some CSR related project. Now, CSR is, what they do is absolutely based on primary data collection and analysis of this, then visualization of the data, then we go to report writing, and then we go to our dissemination and outreach. So in case of, suppose some research is based on primary data, they, see, for example, just to make it more illustrative, for example, if a company goes for, they want to understand impact of their activities in a locality. Suppose if somebody undertook some, medical or medical program, or some, in any development program. So what is the impact of that on on the community? So for that, we need to, one is what they have, any company, they have their objective in mind, that we want to make this impact assessment of our work, which have been implemented over 1 year or 2 year or 5 years. So this is, and this impact will be in terms of what they also identified. It could be whether it has helped livelihood generation, whether it has helped people, overcoming their poverty, whether it has helped them getting access to clean water, whether it has helped getting better health facility. So any of the, depending on the type of corporate, if somebody is in, health, they will go for health related project. If somebody is mining, they will go for, the initiative which they have undertaken in the area related to social development. They will go for this. So their objective is very clear, and what they want to do with this, they want to, once they get this report done, then they take it, either for their internal consumption, or they also take it to the next level or next stakeholder, which they feel they could be important for their business or also for policy making. So for CSR, once we understand that this is the purpose and this is the expected outcome of this proposal, we map this project accordingly. We first, okay, so we start, this kind of research is based on, preparing a questionnaire for this. Now, this questionnaire, all directly or indirectly linked to the expected objective or expected outcome of the project. Each of the question which we include in a questionnaire, they are either directly or indirectly aligned to the objective of the project or the expected outcome of the project. Once then what we do is, once question prepared, then we go for kind of some sampling, whether what kind of sample we need to have. We select our target audience or the area where this project is to be undertaken. And then we go for what type of, whether this needs everybody to be surveyed or we need some sampling exercise that we can select. It can be, your sampling can be purposive or some, some other type of sampling can be done. So depending on, the requirement and also the size of the project or the requirement of the client, we design our how to outreach to our target audience. It means the people who are to be surveyed. So this is one. Then we collect our data based on whatever, based on the survey questionnaire from our target audience, and based on the sampling which we have already designed. And then once this exercise is done, then there is kind of cleaning of data. In usually what happens is, there are number of issues and challenges we face. Sometimes, the agency, they don't work in a very honest manner. Sometimes they fill the questionnaire on their own without. So there is usually what people do is they put some uh, questions which are contradictory in nature, so just to check that this questionnaire is authentic. It has not been filled. So if you find that checking question, if they find the response is wrong, that it implies that questionnaire has not been filled as original understanding, or there might be some some mismanagement or something deceptive about this. So this is, once we have this, and then there is process of cleaning of data. So once data is entered and then there is cleaning process is complete, then we go for analyze this data, keeping the objective of the study in mind. Okay, what we want to achieve. So one is in going for this one, we have some basic information about the respondents. Also in the questionnaire, there is some basic declaration that this data is for a general research or study purpose. It will not be used. Some there, disclaimer to this survey. And then following this, there are some information which very generic information is provided, like name, address, mobile number, then other details if they have, so that it authenticate that the data collected is genuine. And it also, so these are your, very fundamental information which you are gathering. And then followed by this is, you have all questions and put in a very systematic way. You can go with whether you have availed this program, what kind of benefits you got from this. So this, each of these questions can be broken to different parts. Benefits is how you feel about this, and then what do you suggest. So different type of questions. And so if suppose in that first set we also have level of education. So we can, when we go for analysis of this, so you can correlate. Okay, so if suppose somebody is saying that he has immensely benefit out of this program, so who is this person? Now, what was his level of education? What was his age? What was his, so you can also correlate this information with the age, with a level of education. It means it will signify that people who are educated, they have benefited more from this program than people who are not that educated. So this kind of, when we cross-tab questionnaire, so we generate this kind of table and information. This table and information, it can be in table, it can go for data visualization, we can put it in graph, we can put it in maps as per requirement and as per nature of the data we have collected. So this is how, data, and then we go for the analysis part. Analysis, so how we structure our table, our map, our graphs, and so this is analysis. And then we go to the report writing. So once we have systematically put all the information, it means what we need to put in the report. So you have everything, all data has been generated, and all tables you have already generated from this. Then you go to, okay, which table needs to be also represented in visuals like graphs or charts or something. So you either put data in table form, or you create a visual image of the information which you have collected. So once these are done, then we go for the final report writing, which is a very systematic, or a very written in the very flow, which is very good flow, is kind of a storytelling. So why this happened, what the background of the research, why this happened, then methodology we have followed, the objective of the study, and then to achieve these objective, what methodology we have followed, and then we go to the analysis part and presenting data and facts. And then once this is done, then we go to the conclusion and recommendation for this. So this, to my understanding, so this is how this research for primary research is conducted. For secondary research, things are slightly different because we are more dependent on secondary data and secondary information. For example, if we want to work something on, how trade agreements or FTAs impact an economy. Now, for this, we don't need to have. One can also bring in some perspective of the beneficiary of different FTAs, but it is usually we use trade data of our country, trade data of partner country, trade data of other FTAs arrangement where which have been signed, to just make a comparison. And in this case also, the flow is very systematic. So once we have, we start with a kind of summary presented in the abstract, and then we start introduction, then your objective, then your methodology, and then why, this whole analysis, and then we go to conclusion and recommendation. So this, to my understanding, this is how we structure our research and analysis, and how these four important. So these are very important four pillars of research, and we must understand each of them to become a good researcher. With this, thank you so much, and I end.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for actually expatiating and elaborating and illustrating the concept behind the data processing, analysis, visualization, and also report writing. Thank you so much. We will see, come back to you after we have taken the practical sessions with Mr. Nasir Mohammed. Bob contributes from his experience of training in data analysis and project management. Data. Mr. Christian, can you talk now?
Yes, thank you so much, Doctor. Good morning once again, everyone. And thanks for the inspiration I draw from, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate that. So from my own perspective, I think data collection and analysis is one of the greatest thing that every researcher needs, like what we all know is a very great tool. So now the world is moving from the manual data input to AI. Now we have a lot of tools that we can use that we can use to manipulate data and do other things with data is quite harmful. And also, I don't want to say more.
What are the big bad things happen in our department and our organization. So data is critical for anything. So just knowing the data and just collecting the data is also not enough. We have to have the skill to analyze the data. So here I have an example of a data. This is the sales data of some chocolate. Just I get it from some sources. So today this is a very good thing for sharing in today's lecture series. Here are some questions. This is the data, raw data, which we are having. It is around, let me see, it is around 300 data out here. So we are given some questions to answer out of this. We have to extract the information from this data. So first of all, we are going to do the quick statistics like the average sales. These are the basics of any Excel learner, Excel users. So they know that how do we calculate the sum, how do we calculate the average, how do we calculate the median, how do we calculate the percentile of all these things. So quick statistics, we will be doing it. So first of all, let me convert this raw data, this range of data into a Excel table, because we think that whatever is given in the Excel is in the table. Actually, it is in a table means it has it is having a column, it is having a row, but it is not Excel table. When we convert the Excel table, then it has a very benefit. We can address the table as a name. So first we have to convert such data into an Excel table. So to do the Excel table, what we need to do is first bring your cursor to any of the data, any of the cell inside the range. So I'm putting here at Australia. So I'm just pressing Control T. When I press Control T, it will give you the create table pop-up, and then also has that my table has headers. So my table is having the headers like salesperson, geography, product, amount, unit cost, cost per unit, and cost, etc. So I can just hit the enter, okay, and then it will create a Excel table. So this is an Excel table. Now we need to name the Excel table. The Excel table is having a default table name as a table 2 here, but we can modify the table name for my convenience. So I'm here referring as a data. So name of the table becomes now data. So whatever columns we are having inside this table can be referred using the table name data. Okay. So hit enter. Now the table is called name data table. Now let me go to the first this sheet number 1 here. We are going to do some of the quick statistics. I have written some of them because I have limited time. So I can save some of time by typing all these things. So I have saved already written some of the things. How do we take out the average of the amount for the table of the entire sales? Okay. We need to do, because these are the part of analysis. The boss may be asking you what is the average of the sales of this company for the last 1 year, 2 year, whatever. So these skills we need to know. These are the basic things. So average is simply average formula. Once you start typing 3-4 characters of the formula, it will automatically give you the hint like this. Then when you see it, if it is in the blue, just press the tab key and then it will automatically select the formula. Now I have to refer to the table because my table is in the data sheet, this sheet number data. Okay. And I have to refer to the table. Now, instead of going back to the table, I will just refer my table name as a data. Then I get it. Data is there above the date. Here it is date, but data is here. This is the name of the table which I have created. Okay, I will just press tab. And then if you want to select the column, then you need to press third bracket or square bracket. Then it will pop out or list out all the columns inside the table. Then you can select the column number. That is, the column is amount. So I will select the amount and then I will close the parenthesis and then first bracket again, and then you can enter. Then it has given you the average of the total sales of that table. All right, like that we can for unit also we have to do the same thing. that is average. Then what is the name of the table? That is data. Then unit is there. Then it has given the average of the unit. All right. Now we'll be finding out every median of the state means a table. Like median is formula is median, then data, then amount. That's it. And here also median. So it is a repetitive. Then unit. If anyone is having anything, any query, then I don't think that we may be having enough time to explain each and everything. So there are so many other courses which you can join and which you can link with me, and then we can have discussion over the Excel, any kind of problem later on. Then I will be sharing you the group, the link and everything, whatever I'm having. For now, for this session, just observe that what I am doing and then try to learn it from there. If you know already, then it's okay. If you don't know, then you please try to learn it. And if you have any question, please write down, and we will discuss that over after this webinar is finished. Okay. And then now minimum. It is also simple. Formula is min, then data. Data means the table name. Okay. Don't confuse with the data. Data is the name of the table. And amount. What is the minimum sale among the 300? Now I am dealing with only 300 data. If I'm dealing with lakhs of data, millions of data, then it will be very difficult for anyone to find out what is the minimum sales for this data. So it is within a fraction of a second with this formula, we can find out that one. So here is a one data, which is doubtful. Here is showing that minimum sale is 0, which is also possible. So we can verify that one with the raw data also. But for now, let's keep it like this. Min. Okay, if the amount is 0, then unit should be obviously 0, means there is no sale of a particular product. Then we can find out a max also. Then data, amount. All right. And here also max, data. All right. Our range is actually not required. That let's do the first quarter sales. How much is the first quarter sale like that? So for that we have percentile dot.exe, then data. Okay, then amount. Okay, and then first quarter means 25, 0.25. So that is the first quarter, and third quarter dot data amount. We have to give the third quarter. Third quarter means 75, means 0.75. Means out of 1, if third quarter is, that is 75. 0.75, and it will give you like this. And then now if you want to count how many products in the data we are having, because there are repetitive of many data, like many products like this, the 50% dark bite, 50% dark bite. So this is sales by different salesperson at different country. So these things are repeated again and again. But if you want to find out what is the unique number, what is the exact unique number of the products, then we can find out using that another formula which is available only in the latest version of the Excel. You may not be able to get this one in the Excel 2016 or above version. It is available in 365 only. So that is unique. And then array, we will be giving data. Then what is that product? Product is there. Then now it is giving all the products here. Here it is having some around 20 or something, but this is giving name. What I need is number, not the name. So what we can do is we can pass another formula that is count A. Count A, and then it will count whole thing. So there are 22 products available in the data out of 300 sales transaction made in the our raw data. So this is one basic, some basic analysis of quick statistics so that we can do it. There are many other things that you may need to do it. So everything is available in Excel. So if you don't know that what part of what kind of formula you are going to use, then here comes the use of AI. Then you can go to Copilot, you can go to ChatGPT or anything, any AI software, and then you can simply ask in the layman language, sir, I have a data of this range. There are sales percentage, there are sales amount, there is a unit per sold. I need to find out this data. How do I find this data using in the Excel? Once you put this prompt in the Excel AI like Copilot or the ChatGPT, then it will give you the formula exactly, and it will also give you the range, how to select it and everything. So if you have the basic knowledge of the Excel, then it will be very easy to understand what the AI is giving you the prompt. But unless you don't have the basic knowledge of the Excel, then it is of no use. So first thing is that AI will rescue you, will give you help. But first you have to have the basic. Okay, so first we need to know the basic, and then we can use the Excel AI. Now let's go to the first sheet. And here we are having another question, that is exploratory data analysis. Okay, so we will be doing that in Excel sheet number 2. Here, in order to do that, let's just copy this table. Okay, I'm just Control C. I'm just copying it. Okay, another word here. Instead of copying, also we can do it, but I don't want to mix up there, so I'm just copying it here. Let me remove the filter. All right. So here some, let me see. Sheet. All right. Now, here we are having some data, like the same data, and we want to find out visually, we want to see that which one is having the highest number. So we, using the conditional formula, we can highlight all those number figures as per their number. The lesser one will be having a different color, higher one will be having a different color. So from the color itself, we can see that what is the variation of the data we are having. So just select the column which you want to highlight, Control Shift down, then it will select the entire cell, and then go to conditional formatting. And then we can select any of this data bar or color scale. So I'm using the color scale. It will scale as per the data we are having. So this one, okay, any of the color combination we can use. Okay, let me use this one. All right. So here, the greener one is the one which is with the highest number of sales amount. This is the greener one. So if we zoom out like this a little bit to see a glimpse of it, we can also figure out that what kind of sales is going on. But if we see the number only, it may be very difficult to see it visually. But the color, we can see it without knowing exactly the number. So this is how we can colorize. We can use the color scale using the conditional formatting also. And the same way we can do it. And if we want to sort it as per the in the ascending or descending order, we can just apply the sorting again. And then for that, we will just click here and then sort it largest to small. Then it will show you that which one is the largest cell, which one is the least cell. So Canada Gigi Boeing selling the maximum amount, but if we consider about the unit, then is very less. So cost of that particular may be very high. So these are the things that we can find out of these things. All right. And from here also, and let's see, is there any other thing that we need to check out? We can spend another 1 hour only in this one, if you want to. But I want to cover most of the thing little bit. That's why I'm going a little bit fast. Sometimes that's why, otherwise we can spend another 1 or 2 hours only in this table also. What are the other things that we can do it? So I'm doing it bit by bit in the different sheets. Now, we need to find out the sales by country with formula. There are two methods. One we use using the pivot table, another one with the formula. So we will first find out with the formula. So the question is sales by country. Which country is having how many sales, how much sales? So here is the heading. So I'm just, first thing is that there are countries which is also repeated many times. So I have to first take out the unique countries, because we may be having only 5 countries which is repeated 300 times or 200 times. So only I have to find out. So there are 2 ways. One, who is not having Excel 365, then they can do with other formula. That is, either we can use with the pivot table, or like that. We will just copy it, entire geography column, and then paste it somewhere here. Okay. Out of this, then we will go to data tab, and we may remove the duplicates. Once we remove the duplicates, select all, column H, okay, and then we have already removed, and we are having only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 countries data is there, but 300 times it was entered. So we can find out what in this way also the unique number, unique name, or we can find out using the unique formula. Sorry. Unique, and then data, then geography is the column where country name is mentioned. So I'm just selecting that one. So it is also giving the same thing: New Zealand, USA, Canada, UK, Australia, and India. All right, so either way you can do it. So I'm just copying this one first. Let me put it somewhere here. Okay, name of country, can write, then amount, unit. Now we have to find out the total sales of New Zealand. So there is a formula that is sum if. When the condition is fulfilled, then that product will be summed. So we can use sum if range. What is the range? Data. Then geography is the range from where we are going to find out the country. And then criteria. What is the criteria? Criteria is nothing but New Zealand. Okay, for New Zealand it is New Zealand. For USA it is the USA. And then what needs to be summed? We need to sum amount, data. Data. Then amount. So it is giving the total sum of New Zealand. Like that, we can copy all the same formula to the rest of the thing. Okay, it will give you all the data. In the same way, we can do for unit also. That is sum if, then range is nothing but country, or geography is there, and then bracket close, comma, then criteria is New Zealand, then sum range is data. What needs to be summed? Unit, we need to sum the units. And it will also give you the same thing. So this is how we can present. And if we want to present it in a better format, then we can also add some scale here using the same conditional formula that we use in the last example. We can go to the home tab and then go to conditional formula, and data bar, we can put it some data bar like this. So it will give you that what is the range, because for higher range, it will give you bigger data bar. So, but it is overlapping the data. So we can modify this one. To modify it, go to conditional formatting again, and then go to manage rules, and then you click this manage rule and then click on edit bar. Okay, and then we can we can find out, give the highest number. Since the highest number here is what 2,21 means 2,18,000. Okay, so it is 2 million something. So what I'm going to do is I will be giving 30 lakhs, I mean 3 million. Okay, and then now it is giving in this way. Oh, this is too much. Let's change it. What about this? So giving now. Okay. Still it is overlapping. It's okay, no problem. So this is how we can present, and we can make some color beautification of the table and just to present it. So that will come when report writings is started. Okay. We have to paste some of the graph, we have to paste some of the data in the report. So in that case, we can use the data visualization as a part. Okay, next question, let's go. What is the next questions we are having? And okay, same thing. It is we have to show with a pivot table. Okay. So pivot table is an other additional feature of Excel, where the work which I have done here in this one, it can be done in just 2-3 clicks. Okay, so we can do that one in very easily. Here, let's just put it here and then go to insert and then pivot table. Then select the table or range. Here you can type the name of the table. It is data. I'm just typing it. So instead of selecting a new worksheet, I'm doing in the existing one. Okay, and just I have to click hit okay. Now what we need was sales by country. Okay, so I will be selecting the geography and then amount and then units here in the value column. So that's it. It is done. What I did in the for around 10-20 steps, it is just finished in within 1 minute. We can present with using the pivot table. So pivot table, there are lots of things, scopes to do it. So we will be covering only this part, and the rest of the part also I will be doing some of the pivot table part. So additional information and additional knowledge on the pivot table we can learn, because there are lots of scopes to learn. Even I'm also still learning. So there is nothing ending. So you keep learning on it. Only concept where I'm showing you the concept that how we can do present the data using pivot table. Here in the sheet number 3, I use with a manual formula. Okay, here I wrote the sum if formula, like see this, and then I copy the formula to all of the cells. Then this one also I sorted out, and then I copy the entire country name and then remove the duplicate, or I use the unique formula and copy it and paste it here. Okay, but now what I'm doing is here I'm just using a pivot table. Okay, after pivot table, I'm just selecting the geography in the row part and amount in units in the value part, and it has already created the report. That's it. So let's go to 5. Okay, top 5 products by dollar per unit. It is actually the cost. So let's go here. Top 5 products. Here also I will be using the pivot table. From table, data. Do we need to? Okay. Products. So I have to select the product because we need a product here. And then cost per unit. This one. And then top 5 products by cost per unit. Okay. Now I have to arrange this in the only for the top 5. So click here and then filter, select the top 10. Out of this top 10, you can only give 5. It will give you top 5 products per unit of the cost, because the cost of this thing, and we can arrange this one also in the sort as smallest largest to smallest. So organic choco syrup is giving the highest cost per unit, while 70 dark bites, and then after 9 is having the least 5. All right, this is how we can do using the pivot table also. Now let's go to other one, that is, are there any anomalies in the data? So we can also find out if there is a certain variation, like he is not constantly performing, but in one particular month or one particular product, he is doing exceptionally well. So that kind of variation we can find out. But from here, in this raw data, it will be very difficult to find out. So I have to find out India, and then I have to see this salesperson again, and what is their his sale or her sale. I have to find out individually, though. So it will take a lot of time. So instead of that, we can find out using let me again copy this formula. This table, I'm copying it again on 6. All right. Here, and then I will insert a data of amount only. Insert a chart. You can click on the recommendation chart also. Okay, here I will be box and whisker. So here we see that what is the lower value and what is the upper value. This is the upper value, $12,950, and this is the median. But there are some dots above it. There are some dots above it, and these are a variation. See, this is a variation, and the other way of doing it is we can also do it for, because this is only for all amount. Let me do it for country wise. Okay, country wise will be better. This one, and hold Control key and select these two, and let's insert another chart again. Wait. So this chart we can explain, as Sir Suresh said, there are certain points which we need to explain it. So if there is some variation, we can explain why is the variation and where it is having, and which part of the country, which part of the world is having that kind of variation. We can show it from here, or otherwise we can do another chart, that scatter plot. We can use it. Let's give me another one. Then sorry. What is the scatter plot? Yeah. Wait, just give me a minute. Simple. So here, most of the sales are between this range, like $10,000 and 300 units. Okay, but there are some cases like $16,000 sales is there. Okay, So this is a variation. How we can find out this variation? In the graph, we have to go and then we have to check in the road database and then check why this is happening, what happened in that base, and who is the salesperson. So that kind of variation anomaly we can find out using the scatter plot and then Wix and box charts also. Okay, these are just options. And let's go to next task, which is, what is that? Best sell person by country. So we need to find out the best sell person of each country. There are 5-6 countries. So from each country, we have to find out the best salesperson. So that is in the 7. So let's go here and let's insert the pivot table here once again. Data. Then salesperson is what we need. And also we need the geography of each country. And then amount, total value. Okay. Here, let me just check it. See, what I did is I have taken the geography, I have taken the sales name, salesperson's name in the row column, and then I put amount. So each salesperson of each country, like for Australia, these are the salesperson. For Canada, these are the salesperson, like that for each countries. So they are having their sales amount, total sales amount. From here, I need to find out the best one. That we can do either by doing the sorting from largest to smallest, but it will still show all the other salesperson who is having less sales. But I want to show only one best one. So for that, I just need to right click here and then go to filter and then select top 10. In the top 10, instead of selecting top 10, I can just simply put top 1. Then it will give you the best salespersons of each country. Same thing we can do for the top bottom one. Just copy it here, pivot table. Now, here, right click here and then filter. We can change this one top to bottom. We will change from top to bottom, and then it will give the least salesperson of each country. So it is in the same way that we can do it. Now let's go to profit by product using product table and see. Here is another post. Okay, this is one. We have to link this thing in the table. Post is already given. Okay, here I have already find out this one. No need. So let's go this one. I have already done because I was thinking that I didn't do it. Here I have already find out the cost per unit. This cost per unit is taken actually from another table, or I will just delete this one and then I will show you how it is to be done. Okay. Here in this table, we don't have the cost of each unit. Like I am having cost per unit in the separate table. So I have to mix these two tables in one single table using a formula X lookup. I'm just trying to use some of the formula which is very useful. Okay. So X lookup, then we are going to look up a value. What is the value? That is a product. This one. And like, okay, no problem. Lookup array from where I have to look. I am looking this product 70% dark bytes from another table. That is here, this table. I have to select the whole range, and then if both are matched, means 70% dark by is match is found in this table, then what do I need in return? I need to get the return of this unit cost. Select this one. That's it. Now it is already filled up. See, for 70% dark by, the unit per cost is 14.29. Actually, it should be dollar. Let me put the dollar sign here. Where is dollar? Okay, like this. So cost per unit is, we can find out like this. Here we have already done. So let's go the other one, that is dynamic country level sales report. Here I'm going to do some other advanced things, which you can learn many things out of it also. So let me give some more time in this one, because this is a little bit lengthy one. Here we have to select a country. Out of the 5 countries, we have to select a country. So first we have to find out the unique country. I have done in the earlier case also. So I will just use the formula unique, and then data, geography. Okay, these are the 5 countries, and I need to put here in the drop down. So I have to make a drop down selection. So for that, we need to go to data tab and go to data validation. Here, I need to select list, and then I will select the range. This one up to this one. So instead of doing that, okay, let me do it like this, no problem. Now I will get the list here. New Zealand is here, USA is there, Canada is there. So all the countries are here in the drop down. So I can just simply select the country, and then it will give all the figures here automatically. So for that, we need to set up the formula here. So what we are going to find out is the sales, cost, profit, and quantity of each country. And here also the salesperson. So one by one, let's do it. Here I will be using sum if range. What is the range? What we are going to sum? We are going to sum the sales amount, right? From Canada. So I will be giving data, then Canada is in geography column. So I'm putting geography. What is the criteria? Criteria is Canada, because this is the country which I'm going to select. So I'm going to select this one and lock the sale. So F4, if you press F4, then it will lock $E, $4. Then this cell, if I drag it down, it won't move, it won't change. Then what is the sum range? What I'm going to sum? Sum data, then amount is what I'm going to sum, right? So for Canada, the total sales is 2,37,944. Okay. So in India, we used to say lakh, but in the other countries, it is said in millions or so. I'm a little bit uncomfortable in saying millions and all. That's why I'm just, let me try. This is 2,37,000. So it's only 237,000, right? That is how the Western countries pronounce, I think. Okay, for next, I will just drag it down. I'm sorry. Here, we need to change this this geography. We need to change by this amount needs to be changed by cost. Okay, otherwise, it will come for all. Cost. All right, and next one is also we need to change this amount to profit. Is there any profit? No, profit is not worked out. Profit is not worked out. I think we need to first find out the profit first. Okay, now we can do it from here also, no problem. Cost minus
our focus is on data analysis. And I know that, of course, there are quite a number of tools that are available for analyzing data. And then we have different kinds of data. For us in the social sciences, we have the kind of data we deal with, and then we have tools that are very much, relevant for the kind of analysis we do. And I know that people in maybe physical sciences or other aspects of areas of human engagement and research do also have their own, tools that they use to process their data, and the kinds of data they also collect may be a bit different from the way they approach and the way we collect our own data. So I want to tell our audience to please pardon me. I'm going to be speaking much from my background, which is the social sciences. And then in the areas of social sciences, there are quite a number of tools or softwares that we can use to analyze and process data. One of it is the one that Mr. Nasir was trying to put us through, and that is the use of Excel. Excel, you can use Excel to process data. You can use it to draw charts, and those kind of visuals that can help to present your data in a jiffy for people to grasp, understanding of what you are trying to communicate with your data. That is just one side of it. And I must say that it is very elementary, given the kinds of the changes that has occurred over the years in the areas of data analysis, and especially nowadays that we have is the era of big data, So there are quite a number of limitations with respect to processing data when you talk of the use of the Excel. But, it is very basic. It is very important. There's no knowledge that is lost, that is not needed. Of course, because I still use Excel in plotting charts and graphs, and it has got its own strengths. All these tools that we have today, they have their own areas of strength. They have their limitations. So the best thing that any researcher or any scientist can do to himself or herself is to ensure that at least as much as you can learn about these tools. We have in the recent, we have R, as a tool that is being used by, scientists in analyzing data. We have what we call Stata. We also have, when we talk of quantitative data, we also have the SPSS, which is popularly known as the statistical package for the social sciences. So I will be speaking briefly on the SPSS. And then this lecture or this seminar is just to, give us a kind of a brief background to these tools. And then if we have another opportunity, maybe I can come with more, prepared, slides to, put us through an hands-on, learning process. But today I'm just going to speak briefly on the SPSS. But before I go straight to why the SPSS is very important or why data analysis, I need to let us know why is it important to understand data analysis. Many people usually commonize it and think that, but I can always give my data to somebody to help me analyze. And so if you are the type that actually, rationalize and then just think that is the best for you, I tell you it's not good. You can learn at least one of these tools because it is very important. A mastery of the relevant analytical tool in any field of learning, it expands the way you as a researcher, the way you can think about questions and utilize data. You see, as a social scientist, I've come to realize that it helps me a lot. My knowledge of data analysis, it's not only useful for you at the point of analyzing data, it helps you when you are even trying to conceptualize a research. Because when you are trying to conceptualize a research, when you are setting your objectives, when you are setting hypotheses, okay, if you don't understand, how this thing is going to work out at the end, you may find it difficult to be able to set very good objectives that are measurable, that are time-bound, that are achievable. And then even in designing your instruments, we say instruments, in this case, I mean, maybe your question there. In designing your instrument for field study or data collection, you see, when you see many students or many researchers, they go to field and they bring data, and then you find out that those data they have collected, most of what they have garnered in the field are jargons, are not useful. And most of the time, it is because they themselves don't have understanding of how these data were processed. So they are not picturing right from the outset how this data is going to be processed. So many people who don't have understanding of data analysis oftentimes, fall into this kind of a problem. Secondly, why it is important is that any conclusion that you draw from a study is only as good as a statistical analysis. And so, if you give your work to somebody to analyze for you, the responsibility and the onus still, comes back to you in terms of, drawing conclusions from your study. You cannot cede that authority to somebody else to do for you. And I imagine you don't even have understanding, you don't have a grasp of this statistical analysis, this data, how one variable had been used to, influence the other, and then a lot of manipulations that has gone into the whole process. How will you be able to draw a very sound and reasonable conclusion from your study? How? So you see, you can't, come up with very sound, convincing conclusion that is persuasive enough and that satisfies your own conscience as a researcher, if actually you have not taken time to understand how the manipulation works, and then what kinds of things that were done and the rest like that. Then you see, you can also, as a researcher or as a student, whichever shoes you find yourself, you can be a better consumer of research. That is only when you can figure out a data set. Now, imagine all what Mr. Nasir was presenting. If you can't figure out those data sets, you cannot be a good consumer of research. You want to also do research, maybe you have to refer to secondary data, to use secondary data. Now, you may not appreciate, you may not be able to be a good consumer of those secondary data that you are collecting, if you yourself don't even understand, how those data, were processed to that point, and so on and so forth. So there are quite a number of, reasons why this, seminar is very important, and then why everyone needs to know one thing or the other about how to analyze data. So I will just tell us about the SPSS. SPSS has got several versions. We have version 14 of the SPSS, we have version 20, and so on and so forth. For me, there are quite not much differences, if you move from one version to the other. Maybe areas of differences may just be in terms of, I know that the earliest version of the SPSS has limitations in terms of the number of characters that it can allow for you when you are naming your variable. And some of those limitations were taken care of in subsequent versions. And then maybe one or two more, minor. And then if you are using old version, if your data is actually encoded or processed using old version, now a recent version can be used to open it. Now, so if I have SPSS version 14 on my system, and all the data I process that use the SPSS version 14, then if you've got SPSS version 20, for instance, you can use it to open my data. But the reverse is not possible. If I encode a data using the SPSS version 20, then if you have a lower or lesser version, you will not be able to open the data that I have encoded using a higher version. So you must understand these little differences so that you won't have difficulty in accessing data or in saving your data. And now the SPSS commonly, whether it is version 14, version 20, or whatever version that you have installed on your system. Now, the SPSS will normally have two views. There's what we call the variable view, there's what we call the data view. These two views, normally you will begin work if you want to enter data. This is based on the assumption that first and foremost you have collected your data. You have collected your data, maybe primary data using a structured questionnaire, for instance, and then you want to advance further. You want to process the data, and then you want to analyze it. So before you can process the data, what Mr. Nasser was sharing with us, he already came with a data that is actually has been imputed on the Excel sheets. And then I think that was where it started from. And then he took you through how you can now, make meaning out of the data, how you can. But I'm starting from assuming that you just have the raw data, not already encoded or imputed in any software. You just have your structured questionnaire that you have used to collect primary information or data from the field. The first thing to do is to enter the data in the software. And in the SPSS software, you have two views, variable view and the data view. The variable view is where you do your code sheets. That is what a layman will call the template. That's where you first and foremost need to work on. It's after you have developed your code sheet, that is when you now revert back to the data view, where you begin to enter the data, questionnaire by questionnaire. The first questionnaire, you enter all the data. Second questionnaire, you enter all the data until you have exhausted all the questionnaires. You are done. You have entered all the questionnaires safely and successfully in the SPSS software. Then you can save. Then when you save, the next thing that follows will now be processing the data, analyzing the data to make meaning out of the data. Now, let me go back to how you enter the data on the variable view. You see, the variable view has got number of, let's say, characteristics that relate to variable, each of the variables in your data. For instance, let's say your first questionnaire, in your questionnaire, the first variable there is maybe local government area of the respondents. Now, that's the first variable. So on the variable view, you have a number of characteristics that the SPSS wants you to define with respect to each of the variables. The first variable is local government area. So the name, you are going to name it maybe LGA. Now, there are rules that governs naming of variable on the SPSS. The rule includes that, it doesn't permit, there are some certain characters that the SPSS will not allow you to impute when you are naming your variable. For instance, it won't allow you to use a comma, it won't allow space, it won't allow full stop, it won't allow all those stuff. So if you want to name a variable, for instance, maybe local government area, you either put LGA as a single word or you put LG underscore. It allows you to use underscore. If you want to maybe merge two words together, maybe, for instance, name of respondent. You can just say name underscore respondent, but you cannot say name space of, it won't allow space. And then is earlier version, like I told you, will not allow more than 8 characters, but some more recent version will allow you a number of characters, even up to, as I understand, up to 64. Okay, so you don't have any limitations with respect to naming your variable. After the name, now what you must just know, let me just recap, where you are naming your variable. Now, the SPSS will not allow certain characters like comma, like space, like plus. Any of those characters is not allowed. Your variable must come as a single, word. And then if at all you want to marry two words together as a name of a variable, let's say cat underscore dog, you use underscore, not cat space dog, cat underscore dog. After you have done naming of the variable, you have to define the type of variable that variable is about, the type of that variable. For instance, I'm talking about local government area. Maybe that's the first variable in your questionnaire. Maybe that's the first question you asked in your questionnaire. You have the respondent specify your local government area. Okay. And the respondent, ticked, maybe ticked out of 5 options that you have provided, or you just put space there and the respondent had to write the local government area. So local government area becomes the first variable. So you name the variable and say, name LGA. You are free to use whatever acronym is best for you, but you just know that you cannot use certain characters like minus, plus, space. SPSS will not accept that. It will reject that name. Now, you now move to the next characteristics of that variable, which is type of variable. Is it a string variable? Is it a numeric variable? Here, we talk broadly in these two, categories. Either string. If you look at the SPSS tab, you will see a number of options that comes, up there. You see numeric, you see comma, you see dot, you see scientific notation, you see. But what we mainly deal with here, we rotate mainly between either it is numeric or string. What's the difference? Numeric variables are variables that, carries, that you can use numbers, that carries, you can use numbers to name those, to replace those variables. For instance, sex, male, female. You can say wherever the respondent is a male, then you can allocate 1. Wherever the respondent is female, you can allocate 2. Those are numeric variables, usually categorized variables. Now, these are data that you collected. Maybe you gave options and the respondent had to tick from a number of options. You can make such variables to be, those variables are numeric. But string variables are variables that usually this relates more to letters or numbers, whereas whereby you ask the respondent to indicate. You give the respondent the question and the respondent how to, in an open-ended format, and the respondent how to fill in whatever is the response to that question. So where in such cases, we define such variable as string variable. That means that you will not have to type 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 there. You have to type maybe specific name that the respondent mentioned in that place, in that space. That's the second characteristics that you have to define. Then there's another one that's called width. Width of a variable, it relates to the number of characters, the SPSS we allow to be entered for the variable. If it is a numerical value, for instance, with decimal, the total width has to include a spot for each decimal, as well as 1 for the decimal point. Now, width, but you see, in this variable view, the ones that are very important for you to actually work on are the names of the variable, then the type of variable, then the labels and values. Every other thing, automatically the SPSS will complete it for you. But just for knowledge sake, I may just explain a few things about those other characteristics, like decimals. The SPSS will complete it for you. The width, automatically programmed at 8 characters. Okay. Then you move to decimal. How many decimal places do you want your values to be entered? If it is 1 decimal place or 2 decimal place, you indicate. Then label. Label here, it allows you to write more characters, to define your variable very well. The variable, for instance, maybe you ask the variable name, you have named the variable cat underscore school, for instance. Now, but cat underscore school, to somebody who is just working on your data may not understand what you mean. But if you want that person to understand what you mean by cat underscore school, here, under label, you can write more details and say that cat underscore school means how many cats can you find in your school premises? For instance, I just give it as an example. But you cannot write that how many cats can you find in your school premises. You cannot write that as a variable name. The SPSS will not allow you to write that lengthy, stuff under the naming of your variable. But you are allowed to now give more details about the variable that you have actually used acronyms to code the name. You are now allowed under label to write more details about it. Then under values. Okay, maybe now the first thing is now developing code sheet. I already said some few things about it. I already told you about naming of the variable. And then I already told you about the variable type. This is what you are going to see. This dialog box that you see open here is what you are going to see on the SPSS menu. And then you click to determine whether it is numeric or whether it is a string. And then width, I told you, width is just, you may not even work on this width. Automatically, the SPSS is programmed to put 8 there for you. But it's only where you want a wider, cell. Then you can increase it to maybe 10, 12, 13. But it doesn't really have any impact on whatever you are doing, whether you leave it at the, the default setting or you alterate it. Then the decimal is just about how many decimal places do you want your data to be. If you want it to be 2.00, if you don't want it in 2 decimal places, you can just leave it at no decimal place 0. Then label, I was talking about label. That was where I stopped before I came back to share this slide. Label has to do with you want to define the characters or the variables appropriately, So you have to now write more details about that variable because you must have used acronyms or you must have used some form of merged words to describe the variable when you are naming the variable. But here, you now have to write it out in more detail so that perhaps you have to give this data to somebody to analyze or to run some further analysis for you. The person will not be at loss to what you coded as LGA. What is the meaning of LGA, for instance? Under your name, the name of the variable, you put LGA. The person may not understand, may not be able to relate with what you mean by LGA. But if I need to help myself, I just come under label to see, okay, how did you define this LGA under label? And I say, okay, it's talking about local government area of the respondent. Now, values now, this is where you now, for numeric variables, I told you earlier, your variables can either be numeric or string. If it is string variable, you don't need to input any value because for string variable, you are going to type in directly whatever is the response from the respondent. But for numeric variables, now you are going to use values to represent responses that you received from the respondent. For instance, I have given you a question. I said, indicate your sex. I say male, female. You check the box male. Now, I don't want to write male when I'm entering the data. I want to use values such as 1, 2, 3 to represent, your gender or your sex. So here, I'm now going to define what 1 will stand for, what 2 will stand for, and so on and so forth. This is where we call value. So I will check the box, and then you put value. I say 1, put 1 here. Then under value label, I put maybe 1 represent, I put male. Then I add, brings it into the box. Then I go to value again. I say 2. Another value label, I put female. And I add into the box. So you now have 1 means male, 2 means female. So when I'm entering the data, I don't have to write male if you have ticked that you are male. If you have ticked that you are male, I just put 1. That is on the data view anyway, but we are still dealing with the variable view. Now, then after that, move to, of course, I told you this missing some of these ones will be automatically, their SPSS is automatically programmed to, put this stuff at a default that is not going to affect your data at all. And columns, this relate to, how much space you want to allocate to each of the columns, in the SPSS. Then alignment, whether it is left, you want it to be aligned, your data to be right, to be in the right alignment, left alignment, or center. And then the measure, whether scale, ordinal, or nominal. Normally, the SPSS default will program it to put your data in scale. Scale means whether it is interval levels of measurement or ordinal or the rest, it puts it at scale for you. So these areas you may not need much to do with respect to measure also. The area where you need 4 areas, key areas that you need to work on are the naming of your variable, the type of variable. You have to define the type of variable, whether it's string or numeric. Then label. You have to name, you have to give more details about the variable name and values. These are the 4 areas that are very important under the variable view for you to actually work on. After you have done that, you have developed your code sheet. You are done with developing your code sheet. Then the next thing is to now begin to enter your data one after the other. Here, you have to go to the data view. I told you that SPSS has 2 views, the data view and the variable view. So here, you will have to now revert back to the data view. That the data view that you begin to enter your data one after the other. I'm not going to give you lab activities anyway, because we don't have that time. But at the data view, you begin to enter your data one after the other. Your questionnaire. You pick questionnaire 1. Let me see if I can minimize this and share typical SPSS window for you to see. Pardon me, I'm coming. Oh. I want to share the typical SPSS window.
Yeah. Is it available online?
Can we see it now?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah. This is, I told you that SPSS has two views. The first view is the data view. This is the data view. But for this one, I have not even entered the data at all. What I've just done here is to do the sheet, which is the variable view. What I just finished explaining to you is the first thing you work on, the first phase you work on the SPSS, and that is the variable view. This is the variable view. And then for this one, work has been done on the variable view. You can see that the first variable on the questionnaire is state. And then that's the name. I have just named as state. Then the type of the variable is numeric. This is it. Let me assume that, let me just do one. Let me assume that I want to name a new variable now. Let's say a new variable is maybe age of respondent. I'll just put age here. Age. You can't put space and say SPSS will not accept it. You can see variable name contains illegal character because I tried to put space. So it must just be one block. Age. If I want to say age of respondent, maybe I put age underscore respondent. Something must join it together, and what is allowed is underscore respondents. To allow this, I've named the variable. Now I have to define the type of variable. Is it numeric or string? I see that it's programmed to be numeric for me. If it is string, I have to change it. I come here and I say it is string. I click string and I say okay. But age is usually numeric. You know, so let me change it back to numeric that it really is and not a string. Now the width is programmed for you to be at 8 decimal place, set to 0. You know, if you want that 0 decimal place, there's no 2.5 years, except you are measuring it in years and months. Then the label now, this is another place where you work on label. Now, age of the respondent. Here you are permitted to write as much as you want to write, and anyhow, put space, put any character that defines your variable better. Age of the respondents. Then the values. Let's assume that now the respondent will actually indicate their actual age, 17, 15, 14. I don't have to put any value here. I just say none. Now on the variable view, on the data view, I can just put direct value. But let's assume that you have actually categorized the age of the respondent. Even in the questionnaire, you have said to tick whether from 1 to less than 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, and above 31, above 30 rather. Now, in that case, you have categorized your variables. You have categorized them into like 4 or 5 categories. You have to now define values for each category here. That is where I come here. I say value 1 means less or equal 10. Click add. 2 means 11 or 20. Click add. 3 means 21 to 30. Add. And then 4 means 31 to 40, and so on and so forth. And then you see, when you are done with the category, you say, okay. And that's all. So that's how you develop your code sheet. Now you go back to the data view. When you have completed work on developing your code sheet, the data view now becomes the next is where you're going to work on. At your data view, now you see questionnaire. This one, number 1 means the questionnaire 1, that means the first questionnaire. You have to enter data for the first questionnaire. State. Maybe, for instance, in this data now, if you look at the label, the state, the values for the state is either Oyo or Osun. This study was carried out in those 2 states. If it is Oyo, the candidate says you must give the respondent 1. If it's Osun, is 2. These are just labels. They don't carry any quantitative value. It doesn't mean that Osun is twice of Oyo. That's why it's 2. No. These are just for labeling, so that at the end of the day you can count how many 1s, how many 2s. I can tell you Oyo frequency and percentage, and then frequency and percentage of those who come from Osun State. So these are just labels. They are for labeling purpose and not necessarily carrying any quantitative connotation. Now, so you go back to the data view now. Let's say this first respondent, the state is from Oyo. Then I will be saying 1. The local government area, maybe it's Afigio local government area, and then I've said if it's Afigio, give him 2, you put 2. The village, maybe it's a string. If the village is string, I have to type it directly. Maybe Afigio, maybe Lere village. This has to do with behavioral change technique used. We have options 1 to 4. It is let's check the variable view to see the options. BCT used. It is reasoned action 1. It is operant conditioning 2. If it is social cognitive 3. If it is control group 4. So here, essentially here, what is allowed mainly are figures, values. Okay? Let's say operant conditioning 4. This is how you continue until you continue through this row. until the last variable in the row. That's when you have completed for questionnaire 1. Then you stop. After you have, finished imputing the data, the next level will now be analyzing the data. That was what Dr. Nasser was taking you through. But of course, this time around, using the Excel, software. But the next thing will be on the express will be analyzing the data. Analyzing the data, you can use 2 options. There's what we call using the menu or using the syntax. Syntax has to do with, language, computer language or programming, okay? But the easiest one is actually to use the menu. You just click analyze, whether you want frequency distribution, you click frequency, you pick the variables, and then you run. Let me just show you a simple example, and then that's where I'm going to stop. Let me find a data. Let me check on my system and find one data that I have worked on in the past, and then share it and see so that we can see how analysis looks like. Okay. Let me see. I hope this one is a complete data.
Yes, we are with you.
Good. Okay, let me share the data now. I've seen one data.
All right.
The screen showing now? Good. I'm seeing it now.
Yes, we can see now.
Now, this is the data view. You can see now for this case now, the data has been completed. Don't mind it. The student didn't enter the department. It didn't enter faculty. It just started from category. Maybe he found out that those information are not, relevant. So started from category of stakeholder, 1, 2 to 3. 1 may mean something else. Let's check the variable view. What does category mean? Category of stakeholder. Where you see 1, it means it's a student. Where you see 2, it means a PG supervisors. Where you see 3, it means the respondent is an administrator. Actually, this study was carried out on those 3 categories of people, and they were responding to a particular issue. So let's say now we want to analyze. The first thing, let's say age, for instance. This is a variable age. We want to see the age distribution, okay, of the respondent. Then you just click analyze, descriptives. Under descriptives, you go to frequency distribution. This will tell you the age distribution of the respondent. How many people are 30-year-old, how many people are 20 and the rest. Bring the age variable, from this box, from the left, highlight it, and then you check this arrow, bring it into this variable box. Then you click OK, you run it. It will show you the age distribution of the respondent on the output file. This is the output file. Can you see now? Those who were between 30 and 39, they are 17. Those between 40 and 49, they are 37. 50 and above, they are 34. And this is the percentage. That's just simple frequency distribution analysis. Of course, there are quite a number of things to do. Let's take another distribution analysis. Let's run the program of study, whether they are PhD or MPhil program. So you want to know how many people are on PhD, how many people are on MPhil, this program of study. Go to analyze. Now, this is using the menu to run analysis. But if you are using syntax, it's just a command. There's going to be a command. You are going to type a command in the syntax box, and then it will run it. But that will mean that you have to learn the programming, the computer language, and all those stuff for each of the operation you want to carry out. Some students do find that very complex, but this one is very easy. You just go to analyze, descriptive, and you pick frequency. Once you check frequency, then you pick the variable you are interested in running the frequency distribution program of study, pick it inside this box, and you say OK. Then it tells you the output box. Program of study, 52. Now, what I picked was descriptives, not frequency. Descriptive will tell you for that variable, the minimum score, the maximum score, the mean, and the standard deviation. Now, let's go back to run the frequency. The frequency is what I actually intended to pick. Analyze, descriptive, then frequency. Then, now, because I've done an operation before using the frequency command, that was age. I have to reset so that it can clear that age, and then I have to now pick the new thing I want to run. It's a program of study. Then it shows me program of study here. You can see AD, there are 40 respondents. Field, there are 12 respondents. Total of 52 respondents. Missing system, 36 did not indicate. So these 36 are not students. These 36 are the administrators. Because, the study part, students, PhD, MPhil, and administrators, and PG teachers. So these 36 are PG teachers and administrators, are not students. That's why it is missing. They didn't respond to that question. Only 52 respondents responded to that question. And these are 40 PG students and then MPhil students. Well, because of time, I like to pause here. There are quite a number of things to do. This is just the basic analysis. We can still go on to testing, to compute variables, compute command, recode from one variable to the other, and then running inferential statistics using maybe chi-square, using PPMC, using t-test, using ANOVA or regression analysis. These thing will take us another hours to talk about. But if you have this basic understanding of SPSS, then gradually this can be built upon, and then you can now begin to lay your hands on the software and then gain mastery little by little. On this note, I'd like to say thank you. I think I'll say because of time, I have to stop here.
Wow. Thank you. We have any trainee or member that are interested in a detailed practical training sessions that is available, like you have said that you are also available. I think we will look forward to that, but it will not be on a regular session of this where we showcase this very practical illustration to show the seriousness and the business of dealing with most of these things. Because like I used to say, people are fond of singing because I begin to see it as singing. When you go to conferences and you go to summits and you go to different places and you go and present, people will just be looking at you and be laughing and be clapping. They don't know that before you can come forward to come and present, there are a lot of things that are happening in the background, and these are some of those things. Like Sir Suarez also opened the session for us with detailed processes that are involved in taking primary data, taking secondary data, what are the differences, how are they using it, and the rest of that, before we can now even be thinking of the report writing, where everything is being put in together as a narration to communicate what has been done. So it is a serious business, like I have said. And I think, yes, let us open up the space for our participants that are still remaining, because I think people hit 20. But now, even me, myself, I was already dozing like
to university level in Nigeria before I travel out to study, to have my master's. And I know how the traditional teaching and how our lecturers are very strict when it comes to research. And I have to be honest with you, it has catapulted me to a greater height that I understand when it comes to research. These are some things we have to do. Now, my question is this, sir. What is your perception when it comes to using artificial intelligence tools to collect and analyze data? What is your perspective? Because I've seen a lot of situations whereby putting in data or data set manually could take 2 days or many days. But using some artificial intelligence tools can just give you, like, before you know it, maybe 30 minutes and 40 minutes, everything is done. I also have a very understanding when it comes to plagiarism, which is not acceptable in academic world. I personally, I don't do that. But when it comes to data tools and collection of data, there are some tools that can aid one to collect data, analyze them, and have a precision or a exact answer to one's finding. Sir, what is your perception towards this, sir? Thank you so much.
Difference or to actually make use of it. What I'm trying to say is that yes, information are available on the internet in the global space that AI can curate or can synthesize from. But this kind of primary data that we are using the SPSS and some of these very tools to actually analyze, they are direct and raw from the human responses and sense of responsibility that are accorded to it. So I think that very clarification is very much needed before Dr. Fadaro is going to respond to.
About mainly was on primary data. I understand that there is what we call secondary data, which can be harvested from data bank, maybe, for instance, in Nigeria, from National Bureau of Statistics, World Bank, and then a Federal Office of Statistics and the rest like that, that have a number of data stored for over years that some students do go to, harvest from those data for a particular period of time and do certain kind of simulations, and then to be able to predict what situations will be, beyond the years which those data, stopped. That's, I understand that to a large extent, artificial intelligence has got roles to play in such simulations and those areas. But with respect to primary data collection, I am not aware if AI activities have been stepped up, to that extent of being able to go to, local levels and then get primary responses directly from people and then be able to make any. So we still have to, the best that we have now is to use some digital tools like Kobo Collect, like UDK, and all those stuff, which is now replacing, the hard copies of questionnaire that you have to go to field with. In this one, you can send enumerators to the field after you have trained them, and they can harvest the data. And as they are submitting, you are getting, it, recorded in your own, database somewhere, maybe on your system, on your laptop, and then you are, that is the development I am aware of that is feasible now. And then that is encouraged because it saves a lot of cost, and then it helps proper monitoring, and it also helps transparency and accountability in the management of data. And then, so any well-thinking, development-oriented mind will subscribe to that. Why waste resources if these things can make it, can make the work to be done easier and faster? Now, going to the AI issue, because you actually want to know my perception. Now, AI is a new entrant relatively new in development, in research and development, and then it is a welcome development. The only thing is that for now, AI must be cautiously embraced. There are quite a number of things that AI is being, projected to offer, to do, to undertake to do, in the areas of research, which for me as a person, I don't find some of those things as, good enough or comfortable. I am not so much comfortable about some of those things. There are some areas that I think that, oh yeah, this is development, is good, it's welcome. But for instance, AI can, even that is why you have a lot of plagiarism check, because we know that this is not helping students. If a student has to rely on AI to write thesis, to write literature review for him or her, then we are eventually going to build lazy people who cannot think, who cannot, systems are to help you to do what you should be able to do and do it better. I mean, to efficiency, to add efficiency to it, not to completely replace your brain and make you. So how are you going to be able to defend, such a work since it's not coming out from you? Because there is the benefit that rigors that you go through in a process add to you. I'm not saying that people should go through undue rigors. There are some rigors that are not necessary, okay, that students need not to be subjected to. But the PhD study or any study itself entails some rigors. And those rigors are there to rub certain lessons and knowledge on you, so that by the time that's why we have, oral defense, to come and stand before an examiner to say that I did this work and not AI. AI didn't do it for me. Otherwise, there wouldn't be need for oral defense. If everybody can just resolve to AI and AI undertakes to do everything for us, and then fine. Then, am I going to be proud to say I backed this degree? So my general comment about AI is that, yes, innovations are welcome in development, but we must be cautious in adopting every innovation hook, line, sinker. We must draw boundaries, must draw lines, and say that, okay, beyond this point, this is not good enough. And then, so that we won't make a mockery of the whole, knowledge industry itself. And this is not going to take us anywhere. So rigors are important, for us to learn and to understand, certain things in life. Everything cannot just, if wishes were horses, beggars will ride. If you make AI the whole thing, then somebody will just rise up one day and say that he also has a master's degree, he's got a PhD in this and that, and then he's not able to defend anything about it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I would like to seek a clarification from Mr. Christian. I think there is another aspect of that question that is very, very relevant, and that is, if the collection of the data has been done primarily, AI tool is available that can upload everything into the analytical system. I think that is another aspect of it. Is that right, Mr. Christian?
Yes, doctor. Yeah. That's what I was trying to say. But yeah, I know quite all right, it's not possible to use AI tools to collect data from ethnographic research, for example. You can't, there's no way I can use AI. Social media, a lot of them are using it. Then I ask myself, will you be able to defend what you've done orally? So everything has to be computerized, which is not welcomed. So that was my position. And thank you for the understanding, sir. Thank you, doctor, for doing a great response to that, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alan. Let me just give you a gist of what happened in this recent interview that I attended before I got to contract.
Yeah, this is really, really, great learning session. Thank you so much. Thank you all the speakers. I sometimes, when we talk of using AI for our work, AI starts only when we have basic data. AI can work on your data. AI is good for big data analytics. When we have used data, then we can put AI for analysis purpose. So AI works on data. It doesn't work on human brain. Firstly, so this is the first thing. Now, a response from AI depends on what kind of question you ask. AI cannot be an answer for, objective for, you have something in your mind that this is the objective of the project. This should be the expected outcome. This should be how we outreach to our final stakeholders and how we make policy and practice changes. So this is something, this you have to take it forward. AI, I don't think it can give you some hints that you should go in this direction, but it can't give you exact map how and where to go. So this is it can't be a substitute for your human brain and the way you have to conduct your work. So that is one. And then AI, how AI is helping. now suppose for some beginners who want to type something, okay, I am writing a letter to my manager of my office. That way AI can help. He can give you some draft and then you have to customize it. Customize, you have to work on this. So AI is not a complete solution as of now. Even if you generate information from this, you have to work on this. So you need to have a proper understanding of what you want to do in comparison to what AI has given. And then you have to, unless you customize, it's not good to use it. So that is my, what I understand for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It has been a long day and it has been very engaging and full of activity sessions.
I learned so many things from different speakers who there. And I'm very, very sure this is useful to participants, who those who are participating in this event. And it will help them forming questions for their further understanding of the subject of the different issues. And so this kind of initiative, I think we should continue, bring in more and more participants to make for their capacity building, for a better understanding of things, particularly in research area, so that we have a better informed society, better informed researchers, better informed people in our country and our society. So this kind of program is very, very helpful, and I think I just wish you all the best, and I also look forward to contribute my bit as and when possible. I thank you all the speakers, and thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Today's session has been very wonderful. I'm glad to meet Professor Suresh and then other faculty members under the GSLSN network again. And then I hope that we have all been able to rub on ourselves new knowledge, new understanding, new experiences, and then that we need to take this forward and then ensure that this doesn't just die here. What we learn here, let us be agents of multiplication, so that, I like the way Dr. Adebisi normally put it, knowledge philanthropy. Let us be part of this drive, so that together we win and we transform our society to a better place. Thank you so very much. Looking forward to the next session that comes up next week. Thank you, everyone. God bless all.
Thank you so much.
You.
So Latifa, please close the session as a member of the scholars on GSLSN. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Well done.
All right.
Thanks to all our guest speakers. We really appreciate it. It's just like a revision class for me. I really enjoy it. And I hope that next time